Alright guys, we are going to explain a deck that I really think is one of the best decks to climb Elo right now, and that is the Deep Maokai Nautilus Toss deck. This deck is one of those decks that has, like, in my experience, at least 100% win rate, because the enemy just doesn't know how to deal with it, and it's a deck that's in meta right now, and it's also a deck that's against most of the meta decks right now, so it's in a pretty sweet spot. The only drawback of this deck is that you just have to survive the early game. That's it. And by early game I mean to, like, turn 3, 4, which in most cases you end up doing. So let's just, without further ado, let's just go into this deck. Okay, so this deck kind of what it does is it tries to play around deep. Right now, for those of you who don't know what a deep mechanic is, like, I'll just showing you, like, see, there is a card called deep, right? So it means deep is the condition that the deck obtains when there are only 15 cards in the deck, right? So out of 40 cards, only 15 should be there, right? So that is when you achieve a deep condition. Now, so you can already see, so what Maokai does is, whenever, see, so you can read here, right? When your units have died or your cards have been tossed 25 times this game. Now, toss means either they're discarded or they have died, right? So both counts. And the best thing about Maokai is that he levels up passively. So you don't need him in your hand, or you don't need to play him in order for this level up to happen. So as long as you have thrown away 25 cards, he hits his level up, which is pretty insane. Okay, so I just want you guys to just wrap your head around this right now. Read what Maokai levels up into. So he levels up, he obliterates the enemy deck, leaving only 4 non-champions. Alright, so while you're tossing away your cards, and let's say you're at 15 cards and you have hit deep, and you have thrown away, out of 40 cards you've thrown away like 25 cards, or they have died, and so you're at 15 cards, and so the enemy, he's not throwing away his cards, right? So he's probably around like 29 cards or 25 cards or whatever it is, and he may have champions in them or he may not. But when Maokai levels up, which is after you have tossed 25 cards, and if you play this guy, whatever cards they are in his deck, it just goes. He will have 4 cards left in his deck, and as you all know, when the opponent runs out of cards, they lose, right? So this is your secondary backup option. I mean, there are 2 ways to play this deck. So if you get a lot of toss cards early, you can play around Maokai and they just get angry, man. I'm not even kidding. I've had a lot of people lose to this, and they just some of them have even stopped playing LOL because they're blaming the meta. Alright, so this is one mechanic. And now let's talk about deep. So there's this champion called Nautilus. Okay, so as you can see, he levels up when he's deep, when you are in condition of deep, right? So as of now you might think, oh god, this is such a pretty weak card. But when he levels up, he just turns into a monster. And this deck has a lot of sea monsters, and they all cost 4 less mana when he is played. And he's tough as well. He's tough, guys. So that means he takes 1 less damage for every point of damage. This is not a card that you can, like, throw away easily. Now, let's talk about the sea monsters and why this is such a good deck. So you have many good synergy cards that goes around with this, like one of them being Devourer of the Depths. So what Devourer of the Depths does, so when he's deep, like, I want you to understand, they all get +3/+3, right? So this guy becomes +3/+3. He's at 7/7 card for 2 mana if you've played Nautilus. And when you play him, he obliterates an enemy. Now let's talk about what obliterate is. It doesn't mean you are dead. It doesn't mean any sort of this thing. It just means you're removed from the deck, right? It means you died, but it doesn't count as dead. And this works against any card, guys. Let's just sink in. I mean, it works against champions. It works against buff cards, like anything. So obviously when this guy has 7 health and most champions in the game have less than 7 health, he just destroys them. That's it. There's no way around it. So this skill comes in and it just gets removed from their hand. That's it. From their battlefield. And for 2 mana if you have Nautilus played. So this is and in the end you have a lot of like win conditions as well. So once you have Nautilus down, he has 13 damage, right? So you could take, in theory, play Atrocity and do 13 damage to the enemy Nexus. It's very, very deadly. It's not even, and late game this deck is one of the most unbeatable decks out there, and that is why I say it is 100% win rate. Okay, now it's not all games you'll achieve the Maokai level up, but the deep you'll definitely achieve every single game. Okay, because there are just a lot of toss cards in this, right from mana 1, which says, see, when I'm summoned, toss 3, and all. You don't care about these units at all. Okay, don't be afraid to play them. They're just there to help you survive the early game, and that's it. So Jettison, toss 4, Thorny Toad, it has a last breath, and he's pretty tanky as well there, so he can take a lot of hits. But once he is dead, you toss 2 and heal your Nexus. Right, this is one of the most amazing cards in the game, Deadbloom Wanderer. He life steals, and when he's summoned, he tosses 3. So you can understand how easily it is to get to deep, right? Jawl Hunters, another card that has good synergy, because when he's summoned, he's a challenger, which means you can just straight up deal 4 damage to anybody, and he summons an extra sea monster in your hand. And what do we know about sea monster, guys? They're all cheap with this guy, like 2 mana, 3 mana, sometimes even 0 mana. I'm not even kidding. Like we can have cards that are so goddamn powerful that end up being 0 mana in this deck. And again, Shipwreck Hoarder is another card. When he's summoned, again he gets +3/+3, right? So he becomes 10 and 8, and he's for 3 mana, guys. That is the power of deep. Okay, and in the end game, if everything just goes, haywire, and you need some sort of board control, you can just always kill units. And just don't be afraid. This deck is not a deck that you should be afraid of playing spells. You want your units to die, you want their units to die as well, and you just want to survive. Because remember, guys, if your units die, it counts as Maokai level up, right? It counts as tossed. So that's the synergy of this deck. I hope now let's just get into it, and we'll hopefully get a few good games, and I'll get to show you the power of the deck. Let's go in.
pull the strings. Weak-willed fool.
That egg, did it move? You have to get me out of here!
All for the best, my pet. Go ahead, play with your food. Hush now.
Please, I have connections! to the light. You bad! My time!
इंतजार किया बच गए चाल शुरू किया इनकलाब इनके खिलाफ अब तो पहनता हूँ गेंदे का हार झाड़ू को छोड़ क्यों करे हम साफ